Alright guys, so today we're going to do a quick video. I figured it would be helpful to talk about how we fit these 37-inch tires on the new generation 2500 trucks. So a lot of people always ask on TikTok and Instagram, was there any trimming? How much do you have to lift? Do you run spacers? So on and so forth. So I'm going to go find a good place to film after we finish getting diesel, and I'm just going to kind of talk about all the main points on how to fit these tires and some issues you might run into, as well as things I recommend you do. So we're gonna finish getting some fuel here and then we'll go ahead and start the video. So the first and most obvious thing that you're gonna need to clear these bigger tires is gonna be some sort of a lift. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a lift kit, it could be a leveling kit, but you're gonna want more than the original stock ride height, just to make sure that you have enough space in the fender wells to clear a bigger tire. So I've seen people get away with anything from cranking the stock keys all the way out, which I don't recommend. It's going to ride terrible. Or you can go with something like a 3-inch Cognito leveling kit, or in this case we have a 4-inch Cognito lift kit. So anything between a 3 to 4-inch lift or level will get the job done. It's just going to be a matter of how much you crank the keys at that point. So you'll be able to get this setup to work with a level or a lift. It'll be a little bit easier with the lift because you'll have a little bit of more flexibility as far as how high you can crank it. But you'll be able to do this perfectly fine with the 3-inch level as well. There's thousands of people running the same setup with a 3-inch level. It just might take a little bit more massaging around the fenders. But you'll get a little bit better ride quality if you do the 4-inch lift over the 3-inch level. But that's totally your preference. As far as just making clearance, 3 inches of level is really all you need for the minimum. Alright, so the second main piece of hardware or equipment that you're going to need is going to be 2-inch spacers, or at least some types of spacers. In this case, we're running 2-inch spacers, so I can personally tell you I know it works with those, but I've seen other people do it with like 1-inch or 1.5-inch spacers as well. It's just when you go to a smaller spacer, you're going to have to trim the studs. So 2-inch is nice because I like the little bit of poke on the side of the tires, as well as not having to trim the original studs in case I want to ever go back to a different wheel setup in the future. So spacers is gonna be the second thing you need after the lift kit or the leveling kit. Alright, so the third and final part or aftermarket component you're gonna want to clear these 37-inch tires are gonna be some fender caps. The fender caps are gonna allow you to have extra clearance whenever you're turning, because they're gonna shorten the original stock like mud flap fender caps that come with the truck. So I'm going to show you guys a clip of it. I'm only running the ones on the front fenders because that's the main part that has like clearance issues. You can run the ones on the rear ones as well. They make them and they sell them. I just didn't feel the need to buy them and have them paint matched because the stock ones work fine on the rear for the 37-inch tire. It's mainly just the front ones because when you're turning, they get real close if you're running the stock ones, and they'll even rub if you're, compressed going off-road or something like that. So I'm going to show you guys clips of these components that I'm talking about now. And you can kind of get a better idea of how everything is playing in together, because it's multiple different angles for all the components that are installed on this truck. But I'm not saying that these are the only modifications that'll be capable of running 37-inch tires. There's different ways of doing it. I'm sure there's plenty of other setups. I'm just saying that this is a setup that I know for sure works because I run it personally, and I've probably put 10,000 miles daily driving with it. So I've never had issues with it. It drives straight, rides smooth. No rubbing on day-to-day turning. I have full lock both directions. So I'm going to show you guys some more angles of everything and get you guys a better understanding of how the components look on the truck. But it's pretty simple. That's all it's really going to take to clear the 37-inch tires.
So the first component down here you can see is that lift kit that I was talking about, but you can get away with just a leveling kit also, like I mentioned previously. And up in here you'll see the control arms, upper control arms and everything. The angles are pretty good with the lift kit. So this is not even cranked all the way up. This is about maybe a 4.5-inch lift is how we're running it right now, but you could definitely lower it another inch and get away with it perfectly fine. The second component, which is gonna be a little bit harder to see, it's gonna be behind here, but it's the 2-inch spacers. I'm running Shifted Industries 2-inch spacers. They're hub centric. They ride great. I've had no issues with it. Never had a lug nut give me an issue or stud snap, nothing like that. I know some people are very scared of running spacers, but I've ran them on the F250 and the GMC now for a total of probably 100,000 miles between the two trucks and never had issues with either or. The third and final thing that I was mentioning are these fender caps. So these are the fender caps from Kelderman, and they're a little bit shorter and slanted compared to the stock ones. The stock ones come a little bit more like this. So it just gives you a cleaner look as opposed to trimming the stock ones. You can absolutely just remove the stock ones and just leave the fender flat like right here and just completely delete this piece altogether. I personally think that it looks cleaner with the cap on there. But you know, if you're in a pinch and you just need to have some clearance, you can just remove the stock ones or just trim the stock ones. But I really like the Kelderman ones. They make it look a little more OEM and factory looking. So on the front side of here, you can see we did trim just a hair right there. You really don't need to. You can get away with not trimming. You just might have some rub under like full compression, but I have zero rubbing. I can turn full lock. I can go over curbs without making any crazy noises. So, I mean, this block right here is kind of in the way. If you want to go to anything bigger than a 37, you would probably have to trim further out. But for a 37 with the 2-inch spacers, you'll be perfectly fine. It just barely clears everything right there, and it looks pretty good. But I'll show you guys on the back fender caps. These are the stock ones. So the stock ones come down further, but it's not as important on the rears because you're not turning anything. But you can see they get pretty close even there as well. So if you went up to like a 40-inch tire or something, then you would probably be making contact with the stock ones, and then you would want to change them out. But for a 37, it's not going to give you any issues on the rear. And on the front, you really just need to do some mild adjustments here and here. Another tip that we did as well was pinch this fender liner back. Just use like a screw right here to push it back and keep it held back. That way you don't accidentally catch it on the tire whenever you're making a full turn. Once again, that's kind of like the trimming where it's not 100% necessary. You could drive without doing it, but it's just gonna give you the peace of mind of not rubbing whenever you're at full lock or you're going off-road or over a curb or whatever it is. So same thing over here. You can see we have them kind of pushed inwards over there. I'm not running a bumper spacer on here. I know a lot of people do like to run the bumper spacers, and I'm not opposed to a bumper spacer. It just wasn't necessary for the setup because I chose to do that slight trimming up here. So if you really were against doing that trimming on the front of the bumper, go ahead and order yourself like a 3/4 inch bumper spacer or make one yourself. It's pretty simple, and don't even bother trimming at all. But the amount that we trimmed is so mild and it's not even noticeable that I just didn't feel the need for pulling the bumper off to do all that. So that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple setup, but I'll show you guys a couple clips of the truck turning and getting full lock. That way you can kind of see how the truck handles with the bigger wheels. We got the wheel at a full lock over here now too. I just wanted to show you guys the clearance to that carpet liner right there. So everything is making full clearance. That's at a full lock. So it's a very practical setup. It can be daily driven just like this with 37s. Anything bigger might be a little difficult. But you can see pinching the carpet back here, it helps as well, giving you a little more clearance. But it's really a nice setup, honestly. The reason I wanted to make this video was because I'm about to change wheel setups, so before I go to something a little more impractical, I wanted to show you guys how good these trucks handle the 37-inch tires. It's really the ideal setup for a daily driver, I would say. Anything bigger is going to be problematic in other fitment areas, and then anything smaller just doesn't look as good in my opinion. So I think that's just the ideal setup.
Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. It wasn't anything too intense. It was pretty simple, I know. But hopefully this helps some of you guys out there who are just getting these trucks brand new and maybe wanting to throw 37s and level them or lift them right off the bat. So you really don't need too many modifications to make the 37s work, but those are the three main components that I recommended to make sure that you have a practical daily drivable setup with the 37s and you're not worried about ripping your fender liners out every time you turn. So it's a pretty good setup. I recommend it. I think if you just want something simple and daily drivable and tows well, this is the way to do it. Anything bigger, anything wider is going to start giving you bigger issues. So if y'all have any questions, just leave a comment down below. I'm happy to answer them the best I can. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram if you want to see more pictures, especially if you want to see the new setup coming in the next video. And thanks for watching.
Ooh.